Hi, I'm Hilary, and today I'm going to talk about social media. As we all might be familiar, social media that includes social networking sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat has undoubtedly become an essential existence in our everyday lives. It makes us easier to communicate and make connections. It is also important as the main source of our information. However, as we may experience it ourselves, social media changes our behavior and affects our health. On one hand, using social media can result in positive effects such as getting more knowledge and interaction, but on the other hand, it can cause serious problems regarding our health and even risk our lives. My main proposition for today is how social media is declining human beings' well-being. I have 2 points to present today. The first is social media can be addictive, and second, social media can harm our mental stability. If you have experienced scrolling through your Facebook and Instagram feed for hours to the point where it disrupts your everyday activity, or feel anxious if you have no signal on your phone, you might want to ask yourself, am I addicted to social media? One of the reasons of social media addiction is the fear of missing out, or FOMO. Dr. Hilary COF, a psychologist at the University School of Social Sciences, said, when experiencing FOMO chronically, it could lead to addictive behavior towards social media use. Social media addiction can be worse than drug or alcohol addiction, as Nathan Driscoll, a therapist at Houston, Texas, that has multiple clients suffering from social media addiction, said in some ways that the psychological impact caused by Facebook, Snapchat, and other digital platforms can be more difficult to treat than other recognized addictions such as alcohol or drug abuse, because it's much more engaging and there's no stigma behind it. Besides it being difficult to treat, one of the most commonly associated consequences regarding social media addiction is distracted driving. The act as simple as checking your notification or replying to a message in your car while driving can risk losing your life. One notable case was the fatal car crash in Pennsylvania that involved an 18-year-old girl. The teenage girl was reportedly streaming live on Facebook while driving along a highway in Pennsylvania when a tractor-trailer rear-ended the car, killing her and a passenger. Joel Fedman, a lawyer associated with the law firm Anapol Swartz in Philadelphia, said, "We believe that manufacturers of social media apps have a responsibility to warn users not to drive while using their apps, and in some cases, to disable the app so that it cannot use while driving. This proves that we can be so addicted to social media that developers have to make boundaries for us apps so we can resist the temptation of using it, even if it risks losing our life." The second point is social media can harm our mental stability. Social media has been strongly associated with mental health because we can feel a certain way when we interact or look at other users' life online. The National Center for Biotechnology Information reported that about 1/4 of the U.S. young adults suffer from immense depression regarding their social media usage. One of the reasons why time spent on social media may be associated with depressive symptoms is the fact that it may lead to the altered impressions of the physical and personality traits of others. This may lead to wrong conclusions such as physical appearance, educational levels, intelligence, as well as many other characteristics of online users. Cho and Edge, professors of sociology in Utah Valley University, published an article about the potential impact of using Facebook on students' perceptions of others' lives. The study carried out on 425 undergraduate students reported on Facebook. Users linked to their impressions that other users is happier, as well as the feeling that life is not fair. Perceiving others as happier and more successful does not necessarily result in depression. However, in those who already have certain mental health issues, this can impact them negatively, as humans have tendencies to combine weight and vulnerability, the need for validation, and a desire to compare themselves with other peers. Other than having depression, social media can be used to take a form of bullying, known as cyberbullying. People are more likely to cyberbully because they can get away with it easier than in-person bullying. Some may think cyberbullying should be taken lightly or perceive it as nothing serious, when it can actually cause serious mental problems, such as lower self-esteem, increasing depression, and producing feelings of powerlessness. These mental health issues can lead people to give up on their lives, resulting in taking their own lives. Cyberbullying, when directly or indirectly linked to suicide, has been referred to as cyberbulicide. Samir Hinduja, a professor in the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice at Florida Atlantic University reported results from a survey that indicated that victims of cyberbullying were almost 2 times as likely to attempt suicide than those who were not. In conclusion, social media undeniably has negative effects that are serious matters for our lives, and as it can be addictive and cause consequences that are dangerous. It can also harm our mental health in ways we may not expect. It is declining our well-being. This topic should not be taken lightly and needs to be highlighted for more in society so that others can understand and help those in need. Thank you.
All right, well, let me kind of start backwards. I thought the presentation was pretty effective, although the big notes in your hands are a little distracting occasionally. It would be better if you were using index cards so it wasn't so obvious how much reading you're doing. But you do a pretty effective job of reading, so even though you are dependent on the script, you come across like you are knowledgeable about the subject. You only have to kind of pause awkwardly in a couple of spots. There's good information in the presentation. I think that you provide sources for all of the data that you're giving us. There's some expert testimony. It is somewhat speculative at times about what the negative effects could be, and I think that you could use a little bit more backup with examples and some statistical information in a couple of spots. There's not as much of that as I think would be required to be fully convincing. So the sufficiency of the proof is maybe a little bit weaker than the proof that you actually have, because I think you do have pretty good information. There's a little bit of statistical information, and like I said, I think you've got maybe one example, and I think you could probably use a few more. The body of the speech is signposted pretty well in the context of what you're saying, so I know where things are. It does feel a little bit like there's a grab bag of issues that you're dealing with on the first point. We get distracted driving comes kind of out of nowhere, and the one example that you mentioned, for instance, I'm not exactly sure how it's a social media thing. If these poor kids got rear-ended, I'm not exactly sure how they were distracted by the social media that kept them from seeing the car coming up from behind them, or the truck coming up from behind them and smacking them. I'm not sure that's the right example. There may be something else about that example that worked, but the way it was described just now, it seems like it's the exact opposite of that. It wasn't their distraction that created the problem. Now, if the truck driver was on Twitter or live streaming at the time, I could see that would be definitely applicable in that situation. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is that, and I think I may have mentioned this to somebody else the other day. I know I've mentioned it in some of the other classes. People have a tendency to turn their proposition into a question or make it sound like an expository statement at the beginning. It says, today I'm going to talk about how social media is declining our wellness. That's an expository kind of statement. You want a declarative statement. Today I want to prove to you that social media is declining our wellness. So try and do that so that we know that this is an argument and not an informative presentation. All right, thank you.